Ever since I could remember, the concept of wandering and exploring the wilderness, immersing myself in nature's solitude, held an inexplicably powerful allure to it. This crave for adventure, for untouched realms and the thrill of the unknown, drew me to a remote sanctuary of nature, the Danube Delta in Eastern Europe. Known for its mesmerizing wetlands, hosts of bionetworks, and ancient lore, the vast expanse of the delta promised an adventure of a lifetime. At the heart of the delta was a solitary swamp. It was here that I decided to set up camp. Setting up the camp in the midst of the marshy wetlands on the outskirts of an eerily beautiful swamp, I could feel a strange sense of tranquility descending upon me. As nightfall began devouring the final few glimpses of the golden rays, the landscape undertook a majestic transformation. The swamp seemed to come alive, its vegetation rustling gently, as if whispering cryptic tales among themselves. The night enveloped the wilderness like an all-consuming celestial entity. My senses buzzed with high alert, registering each note of the haunting symphony resonating through the swamp. A strange blend of peculiar rustles, guttural animalistic croaks, and the soft lapping of the water against the marsh began echoing across the horizon. Odd shadows danced under the twinkle of the distant stars reflected on the black swamp waters. Sleep struggled against the overwhelming onslaught of the uncanny concert of the swamp that night. The low hum progressive to a roiling crescendo of sounds sent chills cascading down my spine. Alarm bells within warned me against the eerie presence that somehow felt intrusive and violated the otherwise undisturbed harmony of the wilderness. The daybreak brought with it a petrifying revelation. The borders of the swamp had been mysteriously ravaged, as if an unseen entity attempted to locate the source of intrusion during nocturnal hours. Nervousness creeped in like an uninvited guest, but refused to leave just as obstinately. The dread became all the more palpable when I came face to face with the monstrous creature of the swamp. The nightmare unfolded as a gargantuan freshwater sturgeon floated to the surface, its grotesque form glistening ungodly under the morning sun. This encounter completely upset the previously calm narrative of this adventure. The days following turned into a string of uncanny occurrences that built up a growing tension. The silence that surrounds took up a subtly threatening throb. The ground beneath seemed to be holding its breath. The wind carried with it cold trails of trepidation, as if the swamp waited for the grand finale. An omnipresent spectral figure began seeping into my dreams. A living abomination, a phantasmic nightmare, the swamp spirit was the unspeakable entity of the local lore. The legends described the creature as an unnatural abomination, a hideous silhouette that paced around the swamp every night, keeping vigil on its territory and warding off unwelcome intrusions. It was then the unutterable horror that the locals had enshrined in their lore took form before my eyes. A grotesque creature of despair stood towering over me, the specter of Danube. It materialized out of thin ether, a beacon of unyielding terror. The entity was inexplicably terrifying, a surreal image that still scorches through my memories. Overwhelmed by the primal dread though I was, I pleaded for survival, my stammering vocal cords formulating a promised pact of non-disturbance of its delta. As though my desperate plea struck a chord in the primordial creature, it permitted my departure. It receded gently, its grotesque form dissolving into the murky swamp, leaving behind a clear, somber path leading me out. I made a mad dash, my sanity hanging by a mere thread, until I was far from the consuming grip of the Danube Delta. The nightmarish encounter has left an indelible mark on my psyche, a scar etched so deep that it resurfaces even after months. Each gust of wind carries with it the breath of the swamp, its whispers echoing through the cavernous hollow of my heart persistently. The daunting specter visits and revisits my dreams, turning them into unbearable nightmares. My tale remains etched in the annals as a chilling reminder to every adventurer. I recount the menacing terror I encountered with a morbid precision even today, each detail casting a shadow of terror on the faces of my listeners. Some part of this world need to be revered from a distance, their secrets veiled from human fascination, and their silence left undisturbed. For some horrors dwell in the hushed whispers of swamps and crevices of the unknown, their wrath and territorial inscriptions oft left ignored by daring adventurers marred by insatiable curiosity. I believe it was a strange resolve that led me down the path of gripping fright and untamed wilderness. The fascination with nature's call, and the adrenaline rush of embracing the unknown fueled the adventurous spirit inside me. I chose to set out on a solo hike into the daunting yet mesmerizing corridors of the Florida Everglades. It was on a chilled morning that I embarked into the eerie silence of the vast and daunting swamp. The land was so silent that it seemed to resonate with my pulsating heartbeats, adding an unnerving rhythm to the desolate wilderness. The air was thick with anticipation, not only mine, but as if the Everglades itself waited patiently for an unwary wanderer. Traversing deeper into the woods, my eyes fell upon an eerily abandoned shack, hidden amidst the undergrowth. It was more creepy than intriguing, with its rotting wood, rusted chains swinging from a crooked nail, and scattered moldy food containers. It was as if this damp dwelling held secrets of its own, a feeling which sent chills cascading down my spine. The first night under the open skies in the heart of the Everglades was more terrifying than I had imagined. I could hear the hushed whispers echoing in the wind, almost as if they were conspiring against the lone intruder in their hallowed sanctuary. The spine-chilling sounds seemed to be in perfect harmony with the rustling trees, creating a symphony of horror that gripped my psyche and steeled my resolve to survive the night. My unsettling adventure took a horrific turn the following morning, as I found myself face to face with the behemoth of an alligator. The ghastly sight of its jagged teeth and predatory gaze drained the courage out of me. I barely managed to fend the creature off with my camping gear, and narrowly escaped with my life. The encounter triggered an unruly dread within me that was hard to shake off. The real threat and the ominous feeling set the tone for the rest of the journey. Despite surviving the unthinkable, the silence that crept into the surroundings after the alligator attack unnerved me even more. The uncanny absence of sound seemed unnatural, almost as if it was deliberately smothered to amplify my looming dread. Amid the hushed whispers of the wild, the faint nocturnal hums also seemed to have died down, which made the situation even more perturbing. As I plunged deeper into the heart of the swampland, an alarming sign confronted me. A clearing filled with footprints unexpectedly appeared, leading towards an unknown path. I couldn't shake off the feeling that invisible eyes watched, stalked, pursuing my every step. It was a feeling like being trapped in a cold, nightmarish shadow threatening to engulf at any moment. And then I met it, the lurking figure that had been following me all along. It was an entity, an ancient primal beast that seemed to have emerged right from the depths of the swamp. The creature's gaze stirred an abyss of horror inside me and held my psyche captive. My comprehension of reality and sanity took a blow, something I never imagined I would experience. Cornered by this supernatural beast, fear morphed into dread, and dread into desperation. The daunting reality of dealing with such a mystical creature was far beyond my adventurous spirit, and left me pleading for survival. I promised to leave its sanctuary in exchange for my life. My voice trembled as I begged this primal beast. In a turn of events that shook my understanding of these mystical creatures, the entity accepted my desperate plea. The path through the dense swamp cleared, offering me an eerie passage. Without a second thought, I sprinted out of the Everglades, the primal entity's penetrating gaze haunting my every step. It's been months since my harrowing brush with the primal terror of the Everglades, but the psychological scars of that encounter remain as raw as ever. The eerie whispers of the Everglades still echo in my ears. The primeval entity's haunting gaze still visits my dreams. I wake up drenched in cold sweat, clinging onto the sheets, my nights plagued with a fear that was born in the heart of the Everglades. I continue my life, haunted by the memories of what should have been an adventure, but turned into an encounter with raw horror. With every passing day, I have etched an oath stronger into my heart. I will never hike alone in the Everglades again. I remain determined to deter every would-be adventurer from darting down the same path, because some corners of the world are better left alone. Their secrets are too harrowing for humans to unravel. A fervent enthusiast for adventure and a connoisseur of solitude, peace, and all to be found in the lap of Mother Nature, I was always intrigued by the tales of mysterious, yet supposedly alluring elements secluded within the heart of the Florida Everglades. Daring myself to navigate deep into this unseen territory, I decided to embark on a solo camping journey. little aware of the horrors awaiting me. Arriving at a damp, yet bewitchingly beautiful marshland near the Everglades, I decided to establish my camping ground adjacent to a serene swamp framed by towering mangroves and shadowy ferns narrating tales of the ages. The setting was eerily silent and disconcertingly unnerving, but I dismissed the sense of foreboding as a mere product of being in unfamiliar surroundings. In the subsequent quietude of the night, the nipping cold wind whispered curious tales into my tent, sketched in uncanny and cryptic soundscapes. The crickets hummed ominous melodies, and the swamp croaked haunting lullabies. Twinkling stars weaved intricate constellations in the cosmic quilt above, their soft glow reflected in the swamp waters that had been mysteriously hushed. Sleep eluded me through the first night, as the cacophony of unfamiliar sounds echoed throughout the wilderness. The rustling leaves, the exotic night birds, and the peculiar stir in the swamp made for an eerie nightlife symphony. My apprehensions grew throughout the night, the sense of displacement surmounting, as if I had trespassed into the celestial realms of the swamp, now pumping with inexplicable entities. An intimidating encounter with Everglades' all-too-famous predatory beast, a gargantuan alligator, snapped me back to reality. The dead-eyed gaze, a terrifying grin revealing rows of needle-like teeth, and its predatory silence stunned me. Managing to scare it off, I realized that my venture was into a formidable world that played by rules starkly contrasting those of human society. As one would expect, the experience left a dent in my adventurous spirit. The once inviting calls of the swamp had now begun to molt into ominous whispers, hinting at sheer dread. The sensations now had a stronger visceral edge. I could feel the oppressive chill slide down my back, hear the guttural snarls melt into the wind, and the scent of decay from the marsh clawed its way into my nostrils. An unnerving sense of being watched crept into my senses. It felt as though the opaque curtain between the seen and unseen was parting. A shadowy figure began to flicker at the edge of my subconscious. It was a looming, thick air of malevolence lurking on the periphery of my careful observations, threatening to explode into the realm of the undeniable at any moment. A chance encounter with the unspeakable entity that had haunted my journey for days, the dreaded swamp ape, the ghost of the Everglades, flipped over every existing rationality. A sighting I had denounced as a figment of local folklore, this grotesque creation of nature, with its deep-set gaze searing through my soul, left me pondering upon the very tenets of my existence. Engulfed by the enormity of what lay before my eyes, the raw fear morphed into a desperate prayer for survival. It was a plea, an offering of a pact to this beast that reeked of decay, to escape the relentless horror. Much to my disbelief and relief, the creature let me leave. Unscathed physically, save for the raw terror that gnawed at my sanity, I fled from the bowels of the Everglades. The normally bewildering wild shrubs now fretfully carved an escape path. The menacing horrors of the swamp released me from its visceral grip. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but not a moment has gone when the lingering dread of the Everglades has left me alone. Each passing breath reeks of marshy foliage, each gust of wind whispers appalling horrors of the swamp, and each plunge into slumber gifts me visions of lurking monstrosities. The idea of an adventure has evolved into an unspeakable account of dread and discomfort. With each recital of my harrowing journey to fellow outdoor enthusiasts, I have become a medium of conveying a simple yet poignant message. There are some paths best left unpaved, unexplored, and untouched. The unknowable horrors of Everglades live to bear the witness of this testament. This haunting insignia paints a blur between the mundane and the nightmarish, a boundary I caution all against crossing, for the beauty of the wild comes with its own set of horrors, hidden in the depths of swamps and crevices of the unknown.